Hello guys, welcome to another video. First of all, I said that this story doesn't belong to me, so if you read the full story for ourselves, we can go down in the description to find the link to the original post and read the full story for ourselves. That being said, let's get into the video. Legacy, Chapter 28 and Part 28. The Union, Chapter 28. Let's begin. Hey there, Bachan, Naruto said with a small smile as he was watching Tsunade and the other girl who was with her. He had finally found out the last bit of family he had. Although his grandmother was supposed to be already 60 years old, she didn't look older than 30. And it was no lie when they said that Senju Tsunade was one of the most beautiful women on earth. Tsunade was just staring at the blonde in front of him that he had just dema- de- deemed the, demarcated the field where they were standing. In the moment he turned her breath caught in her throat. The moment she saw what he looked like, that golden blonde hair, those deep blue eyes, like an ocean, and when Jiraiya called him Naruto, she started shaking. He's a carbon copy of Minato with long hair. Tsunade was thinking. After all this time, she thought she was alone in this world, that her family was all gone, and now she finds her grandson not even 10 feet in front of her, smiling at her. Tsunade didn't know what to think or do, and did the only thing she felt was right. She blurred right past Jiraiya and Shizune and engulfed Naruto in a deep hug while crying in happiness. Naruto-kun, Tsunade whispered while hugging him firmly as if he wasn't real. Tears were rolling off her cheeks and falling to his t-shirt. Bacha, Naruto replied while sobbing and hugging her back. He had finally found family and he was happy that Tsunade didn't reject him or leave him if her reaction was anything to measure by. Jiraiya and Shizune watched the scene with smiles on their faces. This was what Tsunade needed. She needed a small bit of her family back, and she uh, got it from her long thought dead grandson. They ended the hug, and Tsunade cleaned her tears while her eyes were still red. She coughed in front of him. "Let me take a good look at you," Tsunade said, with her voice filled with so much happiness, with an intoxicating that was intoxicating. Naruto just chuckled and rubbed the back of his head much like his father did. Tsunade was obviously Naruto as best as he could, observing Naruto as best as she could. He had long blonde hair with bangs that framed his face and slightly covered his right eye. His eyes were deep blue like an ocean, and he had 3 whisker marks on each cheek. "You are so cute," Tsunade called and hugged him again, making the other sweat drop. "I bet you have a horde of fangirls back home," Tsunade said, laughing. She seemed to have forgotten everything that happened today. She was finally happy and didn't want to let go of this feeling. "Speaking of girls," Naruto said, breaking the hug, "I will be right back." Naruto said swirled away into his eyes. Tsunade caught the blood red Sharingan eyes but filed it for later questions. Naruto reappeared not even a second later with a girl in his arms and a small fox on his shoulder. Hinata had already been healed and was now sleeping peacefully. "Who is she?" Tsunade asked as she watched the girl that Naruto was carrying bridal style. "She is Hyuga Hinata, my girlfriend," Naruto explained, and Tsunade nodded. She figured that a fine-looking brat like him would already been snatched by someone, but she would see if the girl was worthy of it. She was kidnapped by Itachi and Kisame, but I managed to get her back and summon a healing fox. Naruto explained and turned towards Tsunade. Can you check her just to make sure? Naruto asked, and Tsunade bit her lips. As long as there wasn't blood, she would. As long as there wasn't blood, she would be fine. Tsunade's hands started glowing green and started scanning Hinata's body from head to toe. She seemed to stop briefly on top of her chest as if assuming the damage. She had a couple of broken ribs and dislocated shoulder, but she is fine now. She only needs to rest. Tsunade explained and Naruto sighed in relief. I owe you, Kagura, Naruto said. Not at all, Naruto-sama, Kagura said and disappeared in smoke. Look at the mess you made, Jiraiya said to Naruto and kicking a piece of rubble on the ground. They kidnapped Hinata-chan, so I tried to kill them for real. I wasn't messing around against them. Naruto said in a voice serious, and Jiraiya could only nod as he watched the devastation in front of him. What flames are these? Jiraiya murmured out loud, looking interested at the black flames that were burning the rock and showing no sign of stopping. Those are Amaterasu flames, Naruto said, and Jiraiya looked at him. They can only be summoned by a Mangekyo Sharingan and can't be extinguished by anyone except the one who summoned them in the first place. They will burn for 7 days and 7 nights. They are hot as the sun and can turn anything to ashes. Naruto explained and Jiraiya's eyes widened. That was some powerful fire jutsu right there. You said a Mongekyo? Jiraiya asked and Naruto nodded. Does that mean you can do it as well? Jiraiya asked. That would be a major power boost to Naruto he had been able to if he was able to perform this technique. I know how it works, so I just need to try it, Naruto said and Jiraiya nodded, and I also know how to do the other one, the Tsukuyomi. Naruto said and Jiraiya nodded again. Naruto was becoming more and more powerful by the minute, and these two techniques he just gained would make him deadly against anyone. So I wasn't just seeing things when you warped away with some technique. Tsunade said and Naruto said towards Naruto, how can you have the Sharingan? You are no Uchiha. Tsunade started. Actually, I have Uchiha blood. Naruto said and Tsunade raised an eyebrow. What do you know of my father's parents? Naruto asked. He is an orphan. He never knew his parents. Tsunade replied and Naruto smiled. He never got tired of people's face when he told them about his grandfather. That isn't true, Naruto said, grinning at her grandmother. He knew very well who his father was and lived with him for the first 5 years of his life. He knew very well who his father was and lived with him for the first 5 years of his life, Naruto said, and Tsunade concentrated on him. Don't leave me hanging. Tell me, Tsunade said, and Naruto picked the fan from the back and placed it on the ground, grabbing it by the hilt. Is that? Tsunade asked, and her eyes widened when she pieced everything together. My grandfather was Uchiha Madara, Naruto said and laughed at her expression. She was gasping like a fish out of water, and Shizune was pale as a white sheet. This was his fun, and he passed it on. This was his fan, and he passed it on to my father, and now it belongs to me. Naruto explained, but Tsunade tried to say, but her voice wasn't quite reaching. Madara Chichi didn't die when he fought Hashirama Chichi and later on had a son and named him Namikaze Minato. Naruto explained, "Who am I to doubt him?" Tsunade thought to herself, chuckling. Until now, she didn't even know Naruto was alive to begin with. "How about we continue this at the hotel?" Naruto shrugged and everyone nodded and left towards the hotel that Naruto had rented. Ero sensei, Naruto said and got a streak mark on the old perverse and laughed from both women. "I should warn you about the hotel," Naruto cryptically said. The hotel itself was mostly fine if you don't count the cracks that were chunks that were missing on the right side of the building. When Naruto entered his cloaked version and sped towards Itachi and Kisame, he unleashed a shockwave that tore down almost half of the building. "I hate Shinobi," the owner of the hotel was yelling through the streets while he was trying to clean up as best as he could. Now that a broom would help much against big chunks of rock and concrete, the owner turned around only to find the one responsible for said disaster calmly walking towards him. "You!" the owner yelled towards the blonde pointing at him. "Look at this mess!" the owner yelled. "Don't worry," Naruto said, trying to calm down the owner. "My grandfather here will gladly pay for everything," Naruto said, and Jiraiya's eyes widened. "What?" Jiraiya yelled out, grabbing Naruto by the collar of his shirt. Why should I pay?" Jiraiya asked luckily. "You are the one that blew up the hotel. You are the one that blew up the hotel," Jiraiya explained. "They found me and hurt Hinata because you decided to chase some tail," Naruto explained, and Jiraiya scoffed. "Besides, I have seen your money book, and this wouldn't even scratch the surface," Naruto said, and Jiraiya got surprised. "How do you know that?" Jiraiya asked. "Always look underneath the underneath. Besides, my eyes see more than chakra, you know," Naruto said, grinning. "So pay the man and let's find another place so Hinata-chan can rest properly," Naruto said, and Jiraiya diplomatically agreed. Uh, he went to his pocket only to find his wallet missing and in the hand of Tsunade, who was already negotiating with the hotel owner, making Jiraiya cry anime tears. "Life is so unfair," Jiraiya thought, crying in his mind. Suddenly, Naruto felt Hinata stare and looked down at her. It appeared all that noise around them woke up his sleeping beauty. She tiredly opened her eyes to find herself in the arms of Naruto. "Hey there, sleepyhead," Naruto said, watching Hinata open her eyes and look at him. "How are you feeling?" Naruto asked. "I am good," Hinata said, and watched her surroundings. "I think I can walk," Hinata said, and Naruto shook his head, denying. "You just woke up. Besides, I like carrying you," Naruto said, and kissed her forehead, making her shrug to snuggle closer to him. "Kawaii!" Shizune yelled. "That's adorable," Shizune said, fawning over both of them like a fangirl. Jiraiya was scribbling furiously on his notebook, not even noticing Tsunade. "If you use my grandson for your research, I will remove the thing that makes you a man," Tsunade shouted to the heavens, and Jiraiya screamed and quickly placed his notebook on his pocket. "Have mercy," Jiraiya pleaded on his knees. "Sorry, all out of mercy," Tsunade said, cracking her fingers and furiously rolling her sleeves. "Scary," Naruto thought, watching his grandmother beat his godson to a bloody pulp. Jiraiya was screaming and asking for her to stop, but she didn't even waver. "Oh Lord, the pain!" Jiraiya thought. Naruto decided it was time to save his godson from Tsunade's wrath. "How about we go for dinner?" Naruto asked and Jiraiya sighed in relief when the onslaught stopped. Sounds good, Tsunade replied and kicked Jiraiya one last time. Where the sun doesn't shine, making winch in pain and gently nurse his manly parts. So Tsunade kicked him in that place. Wow, that's harsh, man. All the time he was cursing the blondes around him. Obviously, he's gonna be cursing the blonde. Both are blonde, man. Restaurant. The group found a small restaurant that had a few tables open since the other were all full due to the massive amount of tourists around the town. They were all seated in a small table with Shizune, Tsunade, and Jiraiya in one side and Naruto and Hinata in the other. The menu was a few sardines with rice while Tsunade and Jiraiya were drinking sake. So Brad, how is the life? Tsunade asked while sipping bit of sake. She wanted to know about her grandson's life since she wasn't there for the beginning of his life. It was rough in my early years, but I am good now, Naruto said, and Tsunade raised an eyebrow. Rough? Tsunade wondered what he meant exactly. Actually, since the Chunin exams, they stopped calling me demon and trying to kill me. Naruto blurted out only for Tsunade's face to twitch into one of anger. She forgot that Naruto was a Jinchuriki and she knew very well how most of them were treated in their villages. Did they hurt you? Tsunade asked with so much fire in her eyes that the table slightly cracked from the pressure of her fist. Don't worry, they are all over it now, Naruto said, calming her down. I showed them I had the Sharingan and that I belonged to the Senju clan now they almost worship me, Naruto said, shaking his head. How could they be so superficial? Naruto was a demon one day and superficial. Naruto was a demon one day and the next day he was the prince of Konoha. But I had no guard against them. I have no grudge against them, Naruto said. Do you realize that once you make Chunin, you will be able to take the clan state and will be forced into the CRA, right? Tsunade asked. The CRA was the thing that drove her out of the village in the first place, and when Kushina died, she had nothing to go back to. I am an elite Jonin, by the way, and I have already refused the CRA. Naruto said, chuckling. Elite Chunin, a brat like you? Where's the vest? Tsunade asked, taunting him. I don't like wearing the vest, and didn't you see what I did to those Akatsuki members? They were both Kage level shinobis. Naruto said, explained, grinning back. Oh, please, that was all the cube is doing, Tsunade said, waving him off. I like her, Kurama said from Naruto's mind. You like anyone that praises you, Naruto said, sweat dropping. Fine, be that way, Naruto said, pouting, and everyone laughed. How did you refuse the CRA? Tsunade asked. It's mandatory by law, Tsunade explained. Simple, I threatened to leave the village if they forced me into it, Naruto said, grinning, and Tsunade chuckled. By the way, Jiraiya, why are you here? Tsunade asked, and Jiraiya sighed as the might be this might be a difficult conversation. So Sensei asked us to find you and tell you that you have been chosen for the fifth for the position of the fifth Hokage. Jiraiya said, and Tsunade sighed. The moment Jiraiya said Sensei wanted her to become Hokage, she remembered what happened with Orochimaru. She refused to meet with them. She agreed to meet with them in 1 week, and if she cured her arms, cured his arms, he would destroy Konoha. I'm going back to the village, but it isn't to be Hokage. Tsunade replied to Jiraiya, who raised an eyebrow in confusion. Sensei sent me a letter saying Naruto was dead and at the night of the QB attack. Tsunade explained, "What?" Naruto asked. That doesn't make any sense. He was the one that told me of you in the first place. Naruto explained, "Something is off here." Jiraiya said, "What did the letter look like?" Jiraiya asked. "Normal Kage letter with the signature and stamp." Tsunade explained, "The letter was long gone and she destroyed it the moment she read it. There isn't anyone else for the Hokage position." Jiraiya responded, "How about you?" Tsunade asked. "My spy network is too important for the village. Besides, I am not the type of man to be to be behind a desk 8 hours a day." Jiraiya replied, "I am not becoming the Hokage. It's a fool's job." Tsunade said, and Naruto stubbornly activated his Sharingan and stared, glaring at Tsunade. "How dare you say that?" Naruto asked. "Hashirama Chiji, Tobirama Chiji, my father, all of our family took the Hokage position and died defending the village they loved." Naruto was explaining. "Exactly. They all are dead for nothing." Tsunade explained. "They died protecting the village they loved, and we should continue their legacy and protect the village they created." Naruto said, but Tsunade seemed to re- regret reluctant to agree until a decisive thought crossed Naruto's mind. How about a bet?" Naruto asked and Jiraiya smirked. "What kind of bet?" Tsunade asked, focused on Naruto. "You and me outside. If I kick your ass, you return to the village and become Hokage," Naruto said, and Tsunade prompted. He, He's just a genin. Tsunade thought, "I agree, but if you lose, I will get all your money and no QB." Tsunade said, "I agree." Naruto replied, let's take it outside," Tsunade said, and they all walked outside to the middle of the street. This was all going so well, Hinata said, sighing, and both Jiraiya and Shizune agreed. Outside on the This was all going so well. Hinata and sighing. Hinata said sighing, and both Jiraiya and Shizune agreed. Outside. On the outside, Naruto and Tsunade were facing each other, while Jiraiya, Shizune, and Hinata were at the side watching. Last time to back out, Tsunade said, giving him a chance. "I never give up and I never surrender because to be Hokage is my dream," Naruto said with unbreakable fire behind his eyes, Sharingan eyes for that matter. Tsunade smirked. She saw a vision of Nawaki behind Naruto. Do as you wish. If you win, I will throw in the necklace as well. Tsunade said, and Shizune's jaw dropped as well as Jiraiya's. Hashirama's necklace, huh? Naruto mustard. "Let's go then," Naruto said as he took his stance. "Tsunade, I should warn you," Jiraiya was saying, but was cut off. "Please, Jiraiya, I can take care of the Genin," Tsunade said, smirking. "Even if he is an elite Chunin, I still got him," Tsunade said, even though she didn't say it. She wanted Naruto to win, but she wasn't going to make things easy. "It's ironic," Hinata said, and got confused faces from everyone. "The descendants of Hashirama and Madara are facing each other again," Hinata said, and they chuckled. "Very true," Jiraiya replied, and all of them focused on the fight. Tsunade didn't have any stance. She just stand there with her arms on her on her waist. Naruto was eyeing her carefully with his Sharingan blazing, deciding to try and scare her off a bit. He made his Sharingan start spinning very slowly. Tsunade watched carefully. He's spinning, constantly checking for chakra amulet, am, anomaly in her chakra network to look out genjutsu. Naruto said is speeding off his Sharingan until it started molting slightly. Eventually, the Sharingan started to slow down, and the normal pattern was gone and replaced by deep black eyes with a broken red circle with the three circles in them. A Mongekyo, Tsunade wondered in thought as she watched Naruto's eyes very carefully. She dropped the carefree attitude and took a basic stance. She may never faced she never have faced an Uchiha with a Mongekyo, but her father and had warned her about the powers of those eyes. Had the eyes had and that they weren't to be taken lightly. Tsukuyomi. Sukoyomi, Naruto said, and Tsunade's eyes widened just before her world disappeared and was replaced by Naruto's Sukoyomi world. What is this? Tsunade asked as she walked around Naruto's world. Welcome to my strongest genjutsu. Naruto said, popping out of nowhere and standing in front of Tsunade. Here I am God and I control everything, even time itself. 3 days here are but 3 seconds on the real world. Naruto explained, and Tsunade realized just what mess she was. Uh, uh, this is the second time I tried this genjutsu, and my control still sucks, but it should be enough to hold you, Naruto said, and Tsunade got pinned to a cross, and Naruto stood there in front of her with a sword. What are you going to do? Tsunade asked. She didn't want to believe Naruto would torture her. I'm going to make you laugh to death, Naruto said, chuckling evilly, and the sword was replaced by a feather. Naruto started using his feather on Tsunade's sensitive spots. Tsunade bit her lips and tried to hold it, but she couldn't. Tsunade busted out laughing and crying as she couldn't hold the tears. Tsunade broke out laughing and crying. She could barely breathe. She wanted to bend over since her stomach hurt, but she couldn't as she was pinned to the stake. Mwahaha! Naruto evilly laughed at the sight of Tsunade. Real world. 3 seconds later, on the outside, all for all of the viewers were obviously to what was happening. Oblivious to what was happening. They all heard Naruto call out his genjutsu, but they didn't know if Tsunade was caught as they were just staring at each other. Suddenly, Tsunade fell to her knees, breathing heavily with her eyes soft red, and one could see it dried tears in her face. Damn brat! Tsunade said back in the real world as she coughed to regain her breath. The breathing. Naruto just grinned back at her. It was just by miracle that Tsunade didn't pass out. What did he do? Zuraya asked, curious. He made me laugh for 72 hours straight, Tsunade said, and everyone's sweat dropped. That was a particular use of a genjutsu. I will get you for that, Tsunade said before she started dashing towards Naruto with her fist locked. She is using chakra in her fist, Naruto thought as he watched her approach him with EMS activated. He brought his fan back to from his back and placed it in front of him. He grabbed the hilt on the hand, healed with a hand with He grabbed the hilt with one hand and the other end with the other. That's not going to help, Tsunade said and slammed her fist and hard into the fan. The moment her fist collided with the fan, it was like a large ball imploding through the street. The entire ground shook, but Naruto held his ground. His fan didn't crack or wave. Tsunade was flagged the blasted that the fan fever busted that the fan still in one piece. She didn't even put a decent in the a dent she didn't even put a dent in that thing. It was true that she wasn't using her strength to the max, but that punch was enough to bring down a wall and yet the fan was still in one piece. Naruto flexed his fan and unleashed the current of air, making Tsunade jump back and gain some distance. Naruto placed his hand in the Tiger Seal to release a fire jutsu when he was interrupted by Jiraiya. Stop, Naruto! Jiraiya yelled and both of them turned to him. Don't use ninjutsu in the middle of the street, Baka, Jiraiya explained and Naruto nodded. Naruto took out a three-pronged kunai and threw it at the Tsunade who watched it approach very carefully. The moment the kunai was about to pass right to her head, Tsunade caught it by the hilt and started spinning it around her finger. That wasn't a smart move, Jiraiya said, and Tsunade raised an eyebrow. And why not? Tsunade asked. Did you notice that kunai isn't ordinary? Naruto asked with a grin and made Tsunade stop spinning the kunai and look at it carefully, and she noticed that it was a three-pronged kunai with the kanji on the hilt. He couldn't have, Tsunade thought just before she saw a bright yellow flash. She was about to turn around when she felt Naruto kicking her ass, making her jump into the air and nursing her rear. The hell are you doing? Tsunade asked, nursing her butt. I win, Bachan, Naruto said, grinning with his foxy smirk. Care to explain how that is? Tsunade asked. I said I would win if I kicked your ass, and I did just that. Tsunade said, grinning, and started laughing at the face of everyone when the realization hit them all. You tricked me, Tsunade said, and shook her head. She couldn't win a damn bed to save her life. Hinata just shook her head. She knew very easy. ve- Naruto was very devious and sneaky. Probably having a fox really inside of you increased his cunning as well. She could have seen that coming. I did so much. I did so much things. Naruto innocently replied. You agree? I did so much things. You agreed to bet agreed to the bet. So will you come back to the village and become our Hokage? Naruto explained. Tsunade sighed in defeat and Surprisingly relieved, she walked calmly to Naruto and kneeled in front of him. She undid her necklace and wrapped it around Naruto's neck, kissing his forehead, become a great Hokage like Bachan. Tsunade said, placing her head in his neck, placing the hand above his necklace and his heart. Naruto just smiled and hugged her. I'm glad it all worked out in the end, Jiraiya said and turned to Tsunade. Do I get a kiss or perhaps a hug? Jiraiya asked, and winning his eyes and proceed to be burned by Tsunade and her fist. The next day, after last night's battle, everyone got together and went to a hotel to spend the night. It was a pain in the ass for Tsunade to allow Naruto and Hinata to sleep together, but in the end she caved but warned them that they were too young for kids. They were all together eating breakfast silently when Tsunade remembered something. Naruto, why are you fighting those two yesterday anyways? Tsunade asked and Naruto sighed before starting his explanation. Don't call me that. It sounds girly. Naruto winced and Tsunade smirked. I like Naruchan. It sounds better than Whisker Spoon. Hinata said, giggling, making Naruto glare at her. Naruto sighed before staring. According to Erosensei, they are an organization called Akatsuki made by S-rank criminals and they are after the Bijus. Naruto explained and Tsunade's eyes widened. It wasn't very common to see Kage level shinobi working together. They were renowned to have 10 members. They were rumored to have 10 members. Orochimaru used to belong to them until he betrayed them. For now, I only know of Uchiha Itachi, Toshigaki Kisame, Sasori of the Red Sand, and Deidara the Mad Bomber. They are all S rank. Jiraiya explained. By the way, Hinata-chan, Naruto said, turning to her, how did they catch you? Flashback. Naruto and Hinata had just pathed away Jiraiya since he went towards the omen that blinked his way. They were both going towards the hotel when Hinata felt a chakra space nearby. She activated her Byakugan and sensed the nearby groups trying to pinpoint the signature. It turned out to be a mistake. Once Hinata activated Byakugan, her vision became 300, almost 360 degree, which meant she couldn't help but not to see a pair of blood red Sharingan eyes. It was just a small glimpse before Hinata broke the genjutsu it was placed on her, but it was good enough to distract her and allow a shadow clone to perform a substitution with her. Hinata was now facing two people which had long black cloaks with red clouds in them, and they were both wearing straw hats. The moment they were replaced and they stood facing both of them. Kisame dashed towards her and tried to kick her in the chin to end it quickly. Hinata turned to the right and sidestepped the kick and charging her hand with chakra, she tried a Juken strike to his right shoulder. The attack connected but Kisame remained impassive. Hinata analyzed him with her Byakugan and noticed that her strike wasn't layered with chakra. Her strike wasn't layered with chakra when she obviously charged it with. Hinata noticed that the sword had an activate chakra network as if it was alive. Did that sword absorb the chakra? Hinata thought. What do you want? Hinata asked as she looked at the basic taijutsu as she took the basic taijutsu stance. Let me play with her, Itachi-san. Isame said Itachi had nothing and took a few steps away from both of them. Itachi focused his attention on the faraway hotel. What do you want with me? Hinata asked again. Nothing. What we want is the cube we brought, Kisame said, grinning, and Hinata knew that these two belonged to the Akatsuki and were most likely Kage level shinobi. She knew she wouldn't stand much of a chance, but she couldn't go down without a fight. Hinata flared her Byakugan and Kisame laughed and picked up his sword, still wrapped in bandages. Hinata made a few hand seals and disabled her gravity seals and stood ready to face them. Kisame started glaring like a madman and tried a sword slash on Hinata to knock her away. She ducked under the swing, and Kisame unleashing the the momentum of the sword tilted his body and tried to kick her again. Hinata sidestepped the kick and jumped in the air. Hinata placed a hand on his leg, supporting herself, and kicked Kisame in the face, knocking him out. Kisame got up pissed he got it and ran towards where Hinata was waiting in her defensive stance. She quickly arrived and they exchanged a flurry of blows, but Hinata was far too slippery and was fast for the slow and wide movement of Kisame, and his sword wasn't helping. Kisame was becoming more and more pissed. The place He placed the sword on his back and decided to engage the girl purely on taijutsu. It was a big mistake, and Itachi just shook his head. Itachi could clearly see that Hinata had the advantage in taijutsu. She may seem small and weak, but that was contrasted by her agility and speed. Stay still, Kisame yelled as couldn't even scratch her. And if it was ninjutsu, she would already been dead but they couldn't use it because it would alert Naruto or Jiraiya. Hinata was supposed to be used as leverage. Hinata ducked under a punch and gave him a jugen strike on his right leg, making him kneel. Kisame tried a right hook, and Hinata caught it with her left hand and gave him a jugen strike right on his head, head, uh, destroying his heart, straight right to his heart, destroying his heart, bitch. Kisame said and shakingly placed his hand on the sword to get held. Hinata heard the comment and kicked him where the sun doesn't shine, making Kisame's eyes pop out of his socket. Even Itachi cringed and shivered when he saw that. Hinata felt a presence behind him and turned just to see Itachi give a kick to her shoulders. She got hit, and the force of the kick made her turn towards Kisame, who had his sword ready, and slammed it against Hinata, making her fly into the ground. She crashed and was instantly knocked out. She was a slippery bitch. Kisame said, huffing at her. I'm tired of telling you not to underestimate your enemies. But you decide to engage in taijutsu against a Hyuga. Itachi said, sighing, you do realize that if you didn't have that sword, you would have died, right? Itachi asked, and Kisame also scoffed. But look at her. She is all small and skinny. It looks like she might break at any time, Kisame said, pointing at her. Deception is a ninja's greatest weapon. She may look frail, but her skill is at elite Jonin level, bordering Kage level. Itachi said, and remembered the battle with his Sharingan. Give it a couple of years, and she will become a force to be reckoned with in Taijutsu. Itachi explained, fine, I get it. Let's get out of. Let's get the brat. Let's just get the brat. He couldn't be much more difficult than her, Kisame said, and towards Hinata to pick went towards Hinata to pick her up and went towards Naruto. End of flashback. Damn those two, Naruto said, clenching his fist. Next time they will die, Naruto said. It was my fault, Naruto-kun. I got caught in the first place and ignored Itachi, thinking he wouldn't interfere. Hinata explained, sighing. Tsunade-sama. Hinata called out, and she focused on her. Could you train me in the medical arts? I always wanted to become a combat medic, Hinata asked. She always had an interest in poison, antidotes, and medicine. I am surprised to see a Hyuga asked. Tsunade replied, surprised. tried many times in the past to have Hyuga as medics due to the Byakugan, but Hyuga clan couldn't lower itself to practice medicine. Tsunade said, scoffing, "Are you sure Hiyashi will allow it?" Tsunade said, and Hinata shifted uncomfortably. "I don't belong to the Hyuga clan anymore," Hinata replied. "What do you mean?" Tsunade asked, confused, thinking she didn't hear her right. "My father deemed me too weak to be the heiress of the clan, so he banned me with a cage bird seal and disowned me from the clan when I was 8 years old. I have been living with Naruto-kun ever since. That's why we are so comfortable sleeping together," Hinata explained, and Tsunade got pissed. That wasn't the leaf her father had created. They treated Jinchurikis like trash and left their own children to fend for themselves. She never liked the Hyuga, but this had just hit a new low. "You don't have the seal," Tsunade said, and as she washed her forehead, Naruto-kun managed to remove it. Hinata replied, and Tsunade raised an eyebrow. "So the brat was a seal master." He was full of surprises. "I will train you, Hinata," Tsunade said, and Hinata nodded, thanking her. "I need to talk to you about something," Tsunade said, and all of them stopped beating and focused on her. "I am supposed to meet with Orochimaru in 6 days," Tsunade said. "I need to talk to you about something," Tsunade said, and silently arranged at the table. "I suppose he wants you to heal him for what I have done to him," Naruto said. It was the only logical outcome as to why Orochimaru would search for Tsunade now of all time. "That's right, I agree to meet him in 6 days end him so we can end him there once and for all," Tsunade said, and Naruto got curious. "Why did you agree to meet him at a later date?" Naruto asked when Shizune looked carefully at Tsunade. He said he said that he could bring back Dan, Nawaki, and Kushina if I healed him, Tsunade said, and no one said anything. "He had already brought back my mother when we fought against him during the invasion," Naruto said. I I Naruto started but stopped to think if it would be a good idea. "I can allow you to see them one last time," Naruto said, and Tsunade froze. "Naruto, you can't mean," Jiraiya started, but Naruto interrupted. "I can use the Edo Tensei without sacrificing, but the soul are only here temporarily. Once the time is up, they are gone to back to the pure world," Naruto explained and turned to Tsunade. Tsunade bit her lip deep in thought. She wanted nothing more to have them back, but to see them live again. "I want to see them again, one last time," Tsunade said, and Naruto nodded. "Let's finish breakfast and go outside and do it then," Naruto said, and everyone agreed. Outside restaurant, empty field. Everyone left the restaurant and headed off for an empty field where they could do the ritual without being disturbed. Everyone took a few steps back and allowed Naruto to do his job. Naruto was lucky that Tsunade had a few strands of hair from all of them. She kept them as a reminder of them. Naruto took out a scroll and placed it on the ground. He channeled chakra into it, and the kanji started spreading through the field, leaving 3 empty circles around the kanji. "Shadow clone jutsu," Naruto said, and made 3 clones that went and sat on the ground to their circles. "Shadow clones?" Jiraiya asked. The Edo needs a vessel to anchor the souls to our realm. As long as the clone has chakra, to sustain itself, I can use them as vessels, Naruto explained, and Jiraiya nodded. It made sense. A tiger, snake, a dog, a dragon. Naruto went through the hand seals and slammed his hand on the ground. Edo Tensei summoning jutsu, impure world resurrection. Naruto said, and the clones started becoming covered by leaves until they took the form of someone else. The first person was a man. He had long purple blue hair that reached his back and dark green eyes. He wore the standard Konoha shinobi outfit of that time, completed with forehead protector and a pocket-laced flat jacket. He was Kato Don, Tsunade's lover and Naruto's maternal grandfather. The second person also a young man. He had short, light brown hair, green gray eye, and distinct blush on his cheek. For attire, he wore a dark tail pony top and light to green pants. He was Senju Nawaki, Tsunade's younger brother. The third the third one was a woman. She had waist-length, fiery red hair and blue eyes. She was wearing a dark Anbu pants and Anbu black ops with chest plate. She was Senju Kushina Tsunade's daughter and Naruto's mother. Where am I? Nawaki asked. The last thing he remembered was running towards an empty field and then a loud explosion followed by darkness. Kushina, Kawaki, dawn. Tsunade said, now looking at the three people that summoned back from the dead. You haven't changed a bit, Tsunade-chan, Don said as he looked around. Kushina-chan, is that you? Don asked the beautiful red hair next to him. Yes, Tosan, it's good to see you again. Kushina said and looked around to find Naruto, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and some girl she didn't know. So, hello, Naruto said, scratching the back of his head, and everyone focused on him. I have temporarily brought you back to so Tsunade could say proper goodbyes. You will be able to be here for around a day, Naruto explained, and everyone nodded. Naruto-kun, Kushina asked. Yes, Kachan. Kushina asked. Yes, Kachan. Naruto replied. Kachan. Dan asked, eyeing the blonde carefully. Then that would make me your grandfather. It's nice to meet you, Dan asked. You too, grandfather, Naruto replied and looked to the left to see Nawaki talking to Tsunade, who was hugging him and crying. This is Hyuga Hinata, my girlfriend. Naruto said, introducing Hinata to his mother. Girlfriend, huh? Nagushina asked in a tense of making a teasing tone, making them both blush red. How did that happen? Kushina asked, wanting all the juicy details. Kushina asked, and Naruto went and told her everything that had happened. How, when they first met, Naruto saved her from a couple of bullies. A year later, he saved her from being kidnapped by a Kuma ninja, and when Hinata got kicked out, they confessed to each other. Oh, that's so cute, Kushina said with stars in her eyes. Did you know that your father and I fell for each other in the same way? Kushina said, and Naruto raised an eyebrow in confusion. Back when I was around 10 years old, Kumo tried to kidnap him because of my special chakra that allows me to create change. When I was kidnapped, we had already reached a border and I was losing hope until your father appeared and saved me, Kushina said, and Naruto laughed at the coincidence. I guess we are meant to be, Naruto said and kissed Hinata's cheek, making her snuggle into his arms, and Kushina nodded. She could already tell that Hinata was a very sweet girl that loved Naruto very much. How is the fireball treating you? Kushina said, and when he heard Naruto's stomach growl, that was responsive enough. I guess he doesn't like being called fireball. Naruto replied, chuckling. What if I called you flesh bear? Would you like that? Kurama asked. I guess not, but you have already called me that a couple of times. Flashback. Naruto replied and Kurama stayed silent. Naruto, are you alright? Kushina asked as Naruto suddenly spaced out. He does that sometimes when he talks to the QB. Hinata explained and Kushina smirked. Her head smacked her head for not thinking of that. Naruto got back to the real world and noticed both of them looking intensely at him. What? Naruto asked and they were both staring at him. Nothing. It was just your face went through a couple of emotion, and you almost look like a clown. Kushina said, and Naruto sweat dropped. Kushina started gathering his attention. It's a shame you can't meet Minato-kun, Kushina said slightly. I already did, Naruto replied, making Kushina perk up in confusion. When I was 5 years old, I awakened my Sharingan. He approached me in my mindscape. He explained me everything that had happened that night and that happened that night I was born. He told me about his father and unlocked the QB's cage. Naruto explained and Kushina nodded until Naruto's stomach growled. I guess I am hangry. Naruto said, chuckling. One of the things Naruto most liked is eating. It's almost noon. Naruto innocently said, and Kushina chuckled at his son's antics. All right, gather up! Naruto yelled, and everyone got together. It's noon. How about we go for lunch? Naruto asked, and everyone nodded. Wait, now Jiraiya said, and everyone stopped. Do Eritreans even feel hunger? Jiraiya asked, and Naruto shrugged and turned to them. I could eat, but maybe it's just a vessel that is hungry. Kushina explained, but they all shrugged. It wasn't that big of a deal. So what should we go for? Tsunade asked. Ramen! Kushina and Naruto instantly replied and everyone chuckled. It looks like Naruto got his ramen addiction from his mother. I am not paying, Jiraiya quickly said, sealing his wallet away. The last day they all spent the day as a family should have, having fun and enjoying their company. Their lunch was an epic standoff in ramen eating contest between Naruto and Kushina. Unfortunately for Naruto, Kushina had an irritance and as such she couldn't get full and Naruto caved at 15 goals and passing out. Dawn and Koaki got to meet their grandson and grandnephew respectively. They all learned a lot about the world had changed. Dan pretty much told Naruto stories of Hashirama and Tobirama since he was alive when they existed. So this is Tsunade said Naruto felt that his shadow clones were out or running on fumes and it would be a couple of minutes before they dispelled ending the jutsu. Don't cry, Tsunade-chan, it doesn't suit a strong woman like you. Don replied with a small smile. I got to see my grandson, to my daughter again. Don said, and Tsunade slowly nodded. It hurts to see them live again. It's good to see you again, Tsunade said and turned to Nawaki. At last I got to give you a proper goodbye. Tsunade said, don't worry, Nissan. Nawaki said, grinning. Even though I don't like to have been killed, at least we won. But one day it will be like Tosan wanted, an era of peace without war and conflict, when mankind will be able to understand each other. Nawaki said, for someone so young, he sure had beliefs. This is Naruto. This is it, Naruto. I'm sorry for the burden we placed on you. This is it, Naruto. I am sorry for placing the burden for the burden we placed on you. Kushina said, even though she got to know the fox very well and knew he would help Naruto, she knew that the village wouldn't honor Minato's wishes. Don't worry, I am happy you entrusted it to me. Naruto shrugged and Naruto hugged his mother for the last times and wouldn't forget about the promise I made. And I wouldn't forget about the promise I made, Naruto said, and Kushina grinned. I will be waiting. In the meantime, wait a couple of years before you give me grandson, Kushina said, smirking, and they both blushed and looked away from each other. Goodbye, Naruto-kun, Kushina said before the clone dispelled and Kushina's body disappeared until it remained nothing but leaves on the ground. Leaves the rest of the Live the rest of the life to your fullest, Don said, and he also dispelled. Bye, Nissan. Nawaki said and vanished as well. No one said anything for a couple of minutes as they were all walking home. Tsunade was very happy to have gotten to see them all one last time. Naruto was happy to get to talk and get to know his mother a bit more. Let's get ready, Tsunade said, and everyone got confused. Look, sna- uh, I need a new snake wallet, Tsunade said, smirking. Akatsuki Base Outpost 4. Both Akatsuki members didn't expect to find such resistance from the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, especially when he was only 14 years old. Kisame managed to drag Itachi unconscious body towards one of the mini Akatsuki outposts located around the Land of Fire. Kisame used his ring to call the leaders of the organization. Not even 5 minutes had passed, and an holographic figure appeared in the middle of the room. We couldn't see much of the figure besides its eyes. The eyes were dark silver with concentric circles around it. Report, the figure said before looking carefully at both members, stopping at Itachi. Not what happened to him, the figure asked as he noticed the state of Itachi. To put it simply, he looked like someone who was put through a blender. The QV brat happened to him. Kisame replied, and the figure looked at him in disbelief. You mean to tell me a 14-year-old knocked out Itachi? The figure asked. We were severely outgunned. Our spies told us that he was the loud-mouthed dead last, but it was far from the truth, Kisame said. Explained. The figure said, for the starters, the Kiwi Brat has not only the Sharingan but also the next level of the Mongekyo Sharingan. Not only the Sharingan but also the next level, the Mongekyo Sharingan, Kisame explained. What? The figure asked. Something was missing. Itachi, Sasuke, and Madara were supposed to be the last Uchihas. It's true. He was Uchiha Madara's grandson, and he broke Itachi's Tsukuyomi like nothing, and that Amaterasu flame did nothing against him. Kisame explained. Madara's grandson, why didn't he tell me? The figure thought something here wasn't right. I see. What else can you tell me? The figure asked. He has some strange powers that allows physical attacks to go through him, as if he was a ghost. Kisame explained. The figure raised an eyebrow. In Exactly like Madara's power, the figure thought. The QV brat was becoming more of a trouble than he first thought. Anything else? The figure asked. Oh yeah, he can use the QV's power without losing control. He went to four tails, and that was sufficient to force Itachi to use his Susanoo. Kisame said. That is a problem, the figure replied, but no matter, your job was only reconnaissance. You did a good job, the figure said, and was about to leave when one who interrupted him. Are we to leave him alone for 3 years? Itachi asked. We don't know what level he might achieve with 3 more years. Seeing the level is right now, Itachi said Naruto was already very powerful, and leaving him alone for 3 years to master the Mongekyo might not be the best move. If it comes to that, I will take him down myself, the figure said, and was about to leave until he said one last thing. After all, no one can stand against a god. That's all for part 28 and chapter 28 reunion. I hope to see in the next video, and I am really tired, so I'm going to bed. I hope you guys also have a nice night or morning, whichever it is in your place. Bye bye.